What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market, as we continue to sit right back here at 2021's all-time high, heading into the new week, as we await the Russell 2000 in the stock market to open to see how it's going to react, as we have the Russell starting slightly to the green here to start the new week, as we still are in pre-market. Other notables over here is that we do have silver sitting above $48 as we get ready to kick off the week, which is above the 1980 high. Still, that 2011 high remains, but we are now above 1980. It's also an interesting start to the market. When we look over here at yields, you have most yields green. Yields are up. At the same time, we also have the US dollar currency index up too. So we have equities up, metals up, dollar up, yields up, as we await what appears to be a pretty pivotal moment happening here in the market. So we're waiting to see if we're going to get a good reaction here or some tricky reactions here, how things are going to end up going. Bitcoin, of course, got a little bit of pop over there on the weekend. In the middle of the night, there was like a short squeeze that took it right up here to the new high. And then again, later in the night, boom, it came right back down. So a little bit of kind of weekend price action where things kind of happen in the middle of the night where there's not a lot of liquidity. But now, of course, with the stock market open, it's time to see how it's truly going to react. Of course, as we sit here, I'm cautiously optimistic, but still, of course, lots of cautious, right? We went through a lot of things last week. It was like the ultimate show the different perspective of the market with where we are. As for the 4-year cycles, time has, of course, reached all of the major milestones, and price structures have reached what my most optimistic scenarios could be. But of course, there's this big condition over here where we have the Russell up against the all-time high. You got the altcoin market up against the all-time high, and will it escape? And it's a very high intense moment right now to see whether or not we're going to get that. So of course, I cheer for that because I'm not exactly a fan of losing money, but it seems like this week's going to be a pretty pivotal week to just see what is this market going to end up doing when we have so many fascinating things happening at the same time. When we have silver trying to break out of a 45-year high, looking to see if we're going to be getting a double bottom happening in here for the US dollar currency index. Can we get a full-blown convincing escape over here on the Russell? And does gold have any intention of ever stopping? So of course, if I could drum up like my most optimistic scenarios that I could think of course, it would be for gold to kind of chill out. It would be for the dollar to invalidate this and just kind of start continuing to go down, making this a much larger breakdown that's happening here rather than just having corrective waves. At the same time, things that would make me really optimistic would be a convincing break for Ethereum into a new high at the exact same time as we see it happen for the Russell 2000, because then we would just be back on track for typical accumulation breakout structures, and that of course is typically favorable for the rest of the altcoin market. Things I of course wouldn't want to see would just be a complete faltering up there at those highs, and things like XRP to go take out these lows down in here at about 270. We've talked about this quite a bit throughout the past, and of course you guys got bombarded with it last week. We talked about this last week in detail, how there was the post-election rally for things like HBAR. We saw these exact same things for Cardano, that prices were able to rally, maintained on top of that 618, but once that 618 was lost, we can go ahead and give us a little replay in here. All right, it looked a lot like that, right? The prices just held on top, but once that ended up getting lost, then right, it just kept going. So that's, of course, a concern for XRP in here, but that's going to be also dictated likely by the broader market, right? Getting the rest of the market to break out opens the doors of possibilities for this. But then at the exact same time, you know, you've got a lot of these conditions with Bitcoin of past cycles at the same time, leaving that complicated picture. And that when you look at it through that lens of what it was like for Cardano and what it was like for HBAR, you can see we were kind of in those environments, right? And by the time we got to right in here on Cardano, and by the time we got to right in here for HBAR, we were in a similar environment. So it was November of 2021. So you can see that when we put Bitcoin on there from 2021, that this period right in here was this period right here where there is this like short squeeze here at the end for Bitcoin to set this new little high. There's this pop that happens right in here. And then, right, that's also the case over here on HBAR as well, right? This little pop and then pulling down. This is when Bitcoin is pulling this maneuver right in here. So certainly for those cheering for things to go up and go crazy, right? We're obviously cheering for something different to emerge here for the market and for Bitcoin to kind of toss out 4-year cycles and for the dollar to not matter, the silver not matter, Russell break out, take altcoin market with it, right? You're kind of right on that edge of, oh boy, it could kind of go either way. And that's, of course, why I have to play kind of a cautionary position here in these moments. So this week, we'll let this thing play out over here for Bitcoin, see if it dishes up a different picture. The concerns I have with just that particular structure in itself would be some type of Wyckoff distribution happening in here, where we really do just exactly like this type of stuff in here. And then it goes on and sets a new high, and then it rolls on over on itself. I showed you guys this last week. But frankly, we're just kind of waiting for the market to kind of dish out its hand and see how it's going to react this week. We're waiting to see if the Russell's going to break out. We're waiting to see if the total 2 is going to break out. Silver, silver and gold probably likely need to calm down but not crash, but I'm really not sure. But for kind of a better view there on Wyckoff as well, here's kind of the example for you in here too, with all this price behavior that's happened in here. Just ensuring that's not a Wyckoff distribution happening, right? And that we're not getting a moment like we saw in the past with these altcoins into a distribution here on things like XRP. So obviously getting a break into like the new high really opens that door, right? Like, I haven't forgotten about the big picture of XRP in here. Obviously, on the 8-year time frame, this is a larger crash, retrace, reaccumulation back at the highs. It's just left in a really big kind of like coin toss here right now on what's going to happen with Bitcoin and the altcoin market. And that's the very big curveball right now as we head into this week. This week, if you were like 2021, this was a week where things got a little bit dicey in the market. This was where things really started to kind of crumble apart on themselves when Bitcoin did this distribution right here, or this up thrust after distribution. It was after this moment where things really got dicey. So, of course, what we're looking for this week is to see that's not going to end up being the case. Things are going to morph, right? Metals are going to kind of calm down, not be a big deal. The dollar's going to calm down, not be a big deal. You're going to have the Russell breakout. You're going to have the altcoin market breakout. You're going to have Ethereum breakout. And then, then a lot of XRP's issues go away, and because it's conditional with the rest of the market. And if we get all those conditionals to follow through, then you're good. But right now, we still have to get those conditionals in place for things to look more clear. And so it's a big week this week in determining if we're going to get a breakout. Like, you can just kind of sniff it out. If it's going to happen, it seems like it would happen this week. But at the same time, in 2021, Bitcoin did an upthrust after distribution. And then it was this week where things kind of started falling apart on themselves. So big week. We'll see how it goes. I'm just kind of trying to remain in that neutral path right in there. Just present both sides. What would be things that would be optimistic? Here's the things also to be cautionary about. And hopefully the picture gets really clear really soon. Otherwise, for me, it's just sitting back, waiting and watching. There's nothing for me to do now, just to sit back and wait for them to unfold. Wait for a couple of things to go one way and the other things go the other way. And then that can like paint the clearer picture for one direction. Till then, we sit kind of in the stagnant mode right here at the high, with all these other conditions at the same time, and hopefully those resolve themselves soon. So good start so far for the Russell to kick off the week. At the same time, the diciness of metals getting out and yields being up and the dollar being up. So feels like we're embarking on a major moment in finance. I tweeted about this last week with all these events happening all at the same time. It feels like we're at like this really big pivotal moment in finance in general. So my eyes are obviously constantly on the market. I told myself I was going to like spend less time doing it this week, but I just know it's like such a big moment in markets. It's not like, okay, good, got all the information out. Now take a break and step back. No, just because I'm not making videos, I still have a phone in front of me constantly. I'm watching this stuff. I'm waiting for something to transpire that creates a really clear picture of one direction or the other. Like if you only looked at it through one lens and you were like, all right, Binance coin, it's breaking out. The Bitcoin dominance has long ways down to go. Altcoin market's back at the highs. Come on, is it really just going to get to the highs and then not break out, right? Russell's back at the highs. It's starting to push its way out, right? You looked at it only through that lens, you would just be like, yes, everything looks fantastic. And of course, Bitcoin pushing high too, right? So through that lens, you're like, dude, that looks absolutely fantastic. But then you look at it through the other lens and you say, all right, well, why is silver getting ready to bust out? Has the dollar double bottomed? This is actually the same types of structures that we did back in the 2021 bull run. And then Q4 of 2021 was actually not some majestic, crazy thing. It actually ended up rolling over on itself. And if you looked at it only through that lens, right, you would just be like hyper focused onto the bear. And if you looked at it through the other lens, you'd be like hyper focused onto the bull. But you really have a mix of both of them at the same time. And so it's trying to get through this moment where one of those situations can fade away. And so that's where I think we are right now. And that's the way I'm viewing it. And I'm going to try to like not over talk my words this week, but wait and sit patiently for something to transpire. And then that way have an ability to talk about it and say, this is interesting. This is a new development. So we'll sit back and wait and see if this is our big week. So far, Russell pushing, I mean, that historically looks good, but there's those other things at the same time. So we'll wait on it and I'll let you guys know if I see anything that stands out to me. Otherwise, I hope that you guys have an absolutely wonderful week. You could check out my newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com, where I outline a lot of these different things of both the bull case and the bear case together. It includes a 52-minute audio recording that I recorded myself after I wrote this. You can either go directly to blockchainbacker.substack.com, or there is a link down here in the description of this video. Otherwise, we'll keep our eyes on it this week, and fingers crossed things pan out wonderfully. So we'll see. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.